I've stayed in my fair share of motels, but nothing could have prepared me for what happened at this place. I was on a road trip, just passing through a small town in the middle of nowhere. I was tired, the sun was setting, and the next town was miles away. So I decided to pull over and spend the night at this rundown motel. It was old, the kind of place that hadn't seen a renovation in decades, but I didn't care, just needed a bed for the night. The sign flickered as I parked, buzzing like a dying light bulb. There were only a few cars in the lot, and the place seemed almost abandoned. I walked into the tiny lobby, where an elderly man sat behind the desk, barely looking up as I asked for a room. His hands shook slightly as he handed me the key. "Room 13, he muttered, not making eye contact. "But I wouldn't stay there if I were you." I stopped, confused. "Why not?" He glanced up, his eyes dark and serious. "People say it's haunted, but we are full tonight, so it's all we've got. Take it or leave it." I didn't believe in ghosts, and I was too tired to argue. So I took the key and headed to the room. The hallway leading to room 13 was dimly lit, the carpet worn and stained. The air felt heavy, almost oppressive, as I walked toward the door. When I reached it, I noticed the number 13 was scratched and faded, like someone had tried to erase it. I shrugged it off, unlocked the door, and stepped inside. The room was basic bed, nightstand, a small TV, and a bathroom, but there was something off about it, something I couldn't quite place. It was cold, unnaturally so, like the air conditioner was cranked up, even though it was off. I tried to ignore it, telling myself it was just an old building with bad insulation. I threw my bag on the bed and sat down, flipping on the TV to drown out the eerie silence. As I settled in, I noticed something strange. The mirror on the wall opposite the bed was slightly tilted, and behind it there seemed to be a dark stain seeping through the wallpaper. Curious, I got up to take a closer look. That's when I heard it, a faint noise like someone whispering right behind me. I spun around, but the room was empty. My heart started to race, but I tried to calm myself, blaming it on my imagination. I went back to the bed, but the whispering continued, louder now. It was coming from the wall behind the mirror. Hesitant, I reached up and pulled the mirror away from the wall. What I saw made my blood run cold. The wall behind the mirror was covered in scratch marks, deep grooves carved into the plaster, as if someone had been trapped behind it, clawing to get out. And in the middle of those scratches was a name, barely visible through the faded wallpaper: Mary. Before I could process what I was seeing, the TV flickered off, plunging the room into darkness. Then the whispers grew louder, no longer just a faint murmur, but frantic, desperate voices overlapping, crying out in fear and pain. Terrified, I grabbed my bag and bolted for the door, but it wouldn't budge. It was as if something was holding it shut. from the other side. My breath came in ragged gasps as I pounded on the door, screaming for help. Suddenly, the whispers stopped, replaced by a loud, rhythmic banging from the bathroom. It was like someone was pounding on the walls, trying to break through. I didn't want to look, but something compelled me to turn around. The bathroom door slowly creaked open, and through the dim light, I saw her, a figure pale and ghostly, her eyes wide with terror. She was covered in bruises, her clothes torn, and her hands were bloody, like she had been clawing at something for hours. "Help me," she whispered, her voice so broken and hollow that it made my skin crawl. I stumbled back, tripping over my own feet as I tried to get away. Just as the figure moved closer, the door behind me suddenly flew open. I didn't hesitate. I ran as fast as I could, not stopping until I was out of the motel and back in my car. I didn't look back, not even when I heard the old man's voice calling after me. I just drove, my hand shaking on the wheel, desperate to put as much distance between myself and that place as possible. Later, I found out the truth. Room 13 had a dark history. Years ago, a woman named Mary had been murdered in that room by a stranger she had met while traveling. The police never caught the killer, and locals said her spirit never left, trapped in that room, endlessly searching for someone to save her. I don't know if I believe in ghosts, but I do know one thing. I will never set foot in a motel like that again. And if you ever find yourself at a roadside inn with a room 13, do yourself a favor and keep driving. Some doors should never be opened.